Wait, so who's saying what's up, nerds?
I don't know who's doing what. That'll work. That'll work. What is going on, my friends? Nerd, how the fuck are you doing, man? It's good to see you.
No, I'm good. I was going to see how long I could hold that. No, I'm doing good.
If only I could keep a straight face. I've always been told, like, you know, whenever I was young, right? Like my mom would come in and find me doing something I wasn't supposed to. It'd be like, I'm not doing anything. So I was always bad at like hiding that shit. I would just get giggling. So it is what it is. But Corey, Phocas, how are we doing today, man? I appreciate you coming back with us.
Yeah, doing well. How are you guys doing?
Hell yeah. Good. It's been a long night for me, but we got the caffeine. Thank God my wife came just in the nick of time. I thought I was gonna have to raw dog this episode with just some water and no caffeine, but we got some going.
No amendments.
No, yeah, yep. But so this is a big time of the year for you, dude. You are getting busy. I know. We recently talked. I had ordered a bunch of starter plants from you. I got some seeds. What are you up to these days, dude?
Yeah, so it is greenhouse season for me. So I started up my greenhouse a couple weeks ago, and I've just been sowing seeds in there pretty much, a few days a week for the past couple weeks. A lot of peppers, eggplants, and then I do a lot of annual flowers for a client. So really high end cut flower type stuff. That's all custom grown. Nice.
Yeah, no, we've run into each other a couple times since we've last talked, since you last joined us here. You've been doing a bunch of different expos and stuff like that. And how's that been going, man? I know that's something that's really enjoyable to get out there and talk with the community and kind of talk to different people. You've been doing a lot of those lately, no?
Yeah. So February, I had basically 4 events back to back. So yeah, every weekend I was doing an event. It started with the Connecticut Cannabis Expo over at the
AquaTurf.
Yeah, AquaTurf over in I think it's Plainville or what was it? Middlebury?
Yeah.
Somewhere
around there. I don't often go to that side of the state. But,
I'm not too familiar with that area. But yeah, so I was over there for 2 days. So that was a great time. Got to talk with a lot of people, a lot of growers. Got to connect with some friends who I only see a couple times a year. So that was cool. Fortunately, it snowed, so Sunday was a little bit rough getting started in the morning. But
I was bummed not to make it.
Yeah. It was, everyone was like an hour late coming in and had to clear off some snow, but it was a great event. And I love the crew at the Expo Canna. They put on a great event, and that was the 4th one they've done. And usually they do it at Mohegan Sun, but I think
that was where I think I first met you. I think that's where Iztig and I had gone, and I think I had first met you there. Actually, that was last year, and this year's was much better. The vibes were great. The venue was great.
Yeah. I think because of Sunday, the weather was a little rough, but other than that, it's so much better vibe. I like Mohegan Sun. I do other events there, but it was just a way better vibe. You could go outside and smoke, which Mohegan Sun's harder to do, and it was just overall more chill. Because it's like Mohegan Sun's a casino, the security is very uptight there.
It is very tight. Yeah.
So this lot better venue. And then the following weekend, I had the Connecticut Home and Garden Show at Mohegan Sun, which I do every year. And then I gave a couple talks there. One was about seed saving, and then the other one was about planting your garden for the year. Okay. So that was fun. And then after that, it was the Connecticut Flower Show over in Hartford at the XL Center. So I don't know if no, it was at the Convention Center. But that's a great event for anyone in the state who likes gardening. They do some crazy indoor displays where they bring in like mulch and soil and they plant trees, and they do like just giant planted exhibits indoors, which is pretty cool. So
I did see some pictures. It looked pretty cool. I've definitely I'm one of those people like, oh, I really want to go to one of those events, or I really want to go out, and then it's like something comes up, or like it just never lines up. But yeah, that one looked really cool with all those. So
I recommend going next year. I would hit it if you can. Do it on like the Thursday or Friday, or like later in the day on Sunday, like a few hours before it's going to close, because Saturday was like so jam packed that you couldn't even walk down the aisles. Like I was trying to talk to people, just like the movement of everyone walking down the aisle, like you couldn't stop. Walking, so.
It gets tough talking to people, right? And then you feel like you're yelling at the person you're talking to, and then you're like, oh, okay, yep, I'll see you later.
Yeah, but that was a great event. So that was my first year there, and I will definitely be back next year. And then,
well, I will definitely come check that out.
Yeah, and then I was at the Connecticut NOFA conference. So it's a Northeast Organic Farmers Association. They do a yearly conference. So saw a lot of people that I know, and kind of more of an industry thing.
Gotcha.
So, but that was a good time too.
Cool. Hell yeah. Well, while we're on events, I know, Nerd, you recently did something, didn't you?
No. Yeah. Last weekend was a little crazy. I'd never really been to a concert like in this capacity before, so I've gone to concerts, I've performed at concerts,
official business, huh?
But yeah, so it was this weird thing where the show was being put on by two friends of mine.
Okay.
That I helped them out with some of their website stuff, and then also one of my website clients was hosting a booth there.
Oh, nice.
So I got to go in as essentially as an employee kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I could go from the merch booth and then I brought my camera in, so I could I filmed a lot of it. It's on our YouTube.
You got a lot of awesome videos. Yeah. A lot of awesome videos.
So I kind of just got to mingle, bounce between the merch booth and then filming the show.
Hell yeah.
It was fun. It was a hip hop show. The headliner was 38 Special. And then a lot of local rappers that I've been friends with for a long time have opened for us. So that's cool. Also a friend of the show, Ab the Autocrat, or you may know him on Instagram as I Miss Beer, because he does NA beer reviews as well as hip hop production.
That's cool.
So yeah, I got to see him perform.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was a good experience.
There was another something that happened, right? You were passing something out or something, and you want to tell that story?
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
Couldn't give the things away.
Yeah, so we had free samples of. I actually have one right here. Delta 8, infused hemp joints.
Yep.
And nobody was taking any of them. And
couldn't give the fuckers away.
Right. So I got to a point where so my two bosses were off talking to people, and I was at the booth by myself, and I was super, super bathed because I had rolled up 3 joints and brought them with me, and I just kept sneaking outside. And I was like, all right, fuck this. So I pulled out my phone and pretended I didn't give a shit about anyone. I wasn't actually doing anything on my phone. I was just looking at right. And then I just held my hand out like over the merch table. And then when someone walked by, I would just be like, and or people would go to grab it. I'd flip it back from them. Give it to them, or people would ask me fucking with people, but I wouldn't talk at all. I was completely mute, just miming everything, but apathetically miming everything. Someone would be like, I can really take this, and I would just shake my head and push it into their chest, take it. But yeah, I ended up getting rid of the whole bag of them in 15-20 minutes.
No shit.
Once people realized what I was doing, and then
Yeah.
And then
once the people start funneling in, they're like, "Oh, there's something free."
This guy's fucking with people. So I was like, "Damn, I gotta do this at like every show. Just like walk, just take this,
take this. Just have a sign next time. Just make yourself a sign right there and just walk around.
Please take it. We had a sign that said like free samples and stuff.
Damn.
But no, I just had the you take this. I'm trying to hunt down like people were taking videos of me talking with people. I did find one picture of me.
It was a cool picture that they had. Yeah.
But I know that some people, I've been trying to like scour through like TikTok to try to find it because I know a couple of people took videos of it. People I don't know though. So I'm like, can I find like if I go through all the short videos of the show? Can I? What do
you think they labeled it as? Like nerd holding out a joint or weird bearded guy holding joints out.
I'm just searching for like videos where the venue is tagged and stuff like that.
Gotcha. That's cool.
I haven't found any. So if anyone out there has any videos of me high as balls making an ass of myself.
You got some really awesome shots, man. There was a lot of cool videos, a lot of shorts. You got a few full clips over on our YouTube. So definitely go check it out. I was able to get
a few full songs, which was cool.
Hell yeah. And that's a great venue too. That's where we went and saw Atmosphere, right?
Yes. Or was it right down? Same place. I didn't even know this existed. There's a whole second venue in the basement, so that's where I was.
No shit.
There. Yeah, okay. We show up with all the stuff for the merch booth, and then they're like, "There's gates in front of the door," and we're like, "What the fuck?" And then someone's like, "You got to go down the hill." So it's so funny because it's built on a hill, so you have to walk down the street, and then you have to go upstairs to get to the basement.
No shit.
Because the road is like this.
So many weird streets and buildings out there, man. So old. Not playing.
Very old. It was the basement room's cool.
Hell yeah.
Definitely go to shows there again.
Corey and I are going to see King Gizzard later this year. I am really stoked to go see them, man. I've been stalking their Nugs page and listening to a lot of their live stuff. So really psyched. I can't remember what venue it is.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I'll have to go back and check. But yeah, I mean, I've been watching their live stuff for a while, so it'd be really awesome to see them in person. And then I know you sent me one video. I don't know where that was at, but that was way more intense than what they usually do. Like their shows are usually like them just on stage jamming out, but that was like a whole pit going, and there was like some pyrotechnics or something like that. So
yeah. It was so anytime I see any like King Gizzard stuff between you, Corey, and Sam Sahouse, he's another King Gizzard big fan. So like I'll find all like the because they'll make fun of Stu and the other guy with their little antics they get into or whatever, or their show clips, right? And it was like I think the video I sent you was it was along the lines of like come to a King Gizzard show, it's really chill.
Yeah.
And then it's just like this huge pit just like a circle pit going, and just all these crazy lights and pyrotechnics, and so yeah, it will be very exciting. I think we got some decent seats. I know for me personally, I've learned this. My lesson was with Nerd standing for too long. I'm getting old, or I'm just definitely out of shape. So I was like, we've got to get seats.
Yeah.
So hopefully you didn't mind that. Cause like, it was kind of like, I remember the whole situation. It was like, oh yeah, we're going to get tickets. My wife was just like, boom, she got the tickets. I was like, well, wait a second. You can't get me seat tickets when I'm going with people and we haven't bought our seat tickets all together. Like, what are you doing? She's like, well, shit, I guess I'll buy all the other tickets too. And I was like, oh no. I'm like messaging Corey. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. My wife is in a rut. Like, we've now got the tickets, but we're sitting here.
It's cool. No, that'll be a lot better. I think. Yeah. I'm getting old too, man. It's hard for me standing in the greenhouse sowing seeds this week. I was like, dude, I need a chair or something.
Yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to like make you like one of those ones where you can just sit on it and it can like rotate and you could just sit on it and it goes up and down the aisles. And
that'd be
that's
nice.
It right there.
So you want to install a chairlift for them?
That's it. Hey. We can work together.
Horizontal one.
Yeah. Well, I'll take my knowledge from what I have with stair lifts, and then we'll bring it into the garden, and we got this.
Oh, that's right. You do all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
We could figure something out.
All right.
But yeah, man, no, that was I was like, I definitely wanted seats, but I am kind of bummed because I still enjoy being like going to concerts and being in the general admission where you can get as close as you can to the band. Cause I mean, that's where all like I wouldn't say real fans. I don't mean it like that, but like, that's where you get all the fans that are getting crazy and jumping around and enjoying. And, so it is fun to be immersed in that. But, yeah, as I get older, it's like, oh, I can just watch it from up here. All those little crazy fuckers over there doing, all right, you guys enjoy yourself.
This show they're doing like with an orchestra, I think too. So I don't know how.
Oh, really?
I think so. I think this tour is with an orchestra. So,
no shit. Yeah. I got to do some more research. I haven't done much. I haven't done a lot of research on it, so I'm gonna have to look around. As soon as we get off here, I'm gonna look around and see what's going on. So, but they're a really cool band. It's something that I didn't really get into until recently. But yeah, they're really cool. What did you have, Nerd? You were about to say something.
I don't remember now, but anyways,
damn it.
So I've only listened to one album by them, and it's the one where all the songs perfectly loop, and then the whole album perfectly loops.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know what album.
But I don't know any more of their catalog outside of that. The album's cool.
They are definitely one of those bands that's kind of like if you don't like one album, just check out the other because it's going to be a little different. Right.
Yeah.
They have such a crazy, I don't know what you would call it. They shift between so many different genres and kind of how they present the music and, really, really cool. Cool dudes.
Yeah. They put out like 2 or 3 albums a year on average.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. But,
they're putting up those Buckethead numbers.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. But one of the other things, in the spirit, let's see, what day are we on? Just a couple days ago was the start of spring. So like I said, this is a busy time of year for you, dude. I know you were saying you had some starter stuff that was going in there. What are you most looking forward to this year with your outdoor garden? Anything new and exciting that you're getting into?
Yeah, this year there's a bunch of new stuff. I leased a new plot down the street from me that a neighbor has. So he's got like over 50 acres, and I leased it's a little less than an acre plot from him on an old farm. So I'm going to be doing a lot of seed crops out there, a lot of vegetable stuff. So I'm going to do a lot of cucumbers, a melon breeding project, squashes, just a bunch of stuff. So that'll be cool. And then I'm doing another outdoor auto trial this year. Every other year I do a big route of a bunch of different genetics. Some of my work, friends of mine, people I know, and your stuff is on the list. So
oh hell yeah.
Yeah. Hell so yeah. It's going to be like, probably around 50 to 60 plants. So I'll see.
Shit.
Yeah. So I'll see how that goes. So
nice.
those are like the 2 huge things. Then I got another project, but I'm going to keep that one under wraps, but that'll also be really cool. I have a friend of mine who's working with me on we're putting up a little hoop house.
Shit.
So there'll be some stuff going in there. I'm not gonna tell you what yet, but
damn
we'll
it.
find out.
I look forward to seeing it. Yeah. That's cool, man. So yeah, no, for me, my most excited, there's a few plants, and we're going to get into kind of a little bit of that later, but I'm excited to really hit the garden hard this year. The biggest thing that kicked my ass last year was just the pests, and I think it really got me down. I know that was you came on here just a little bit after that. I already kind of went through the fiasco, and when I kind of had the breakdown, like, well, fuck it, I guess I'm not an outdoor gardener. But yeah, it's one of those things, man. I've really got to figure it out, man. I got to see if I can convince you to come over and take a look at what I got going on, and give me a couple pointers and see what you think.
He needs a garden audit.
That's it.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I'd be happy to. So Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah. We'll definitely have to plan something. But what about you, Nerd? What do you, anything exciting for you that you're looking forward to for this spring, summer season of outdoor gardening?
A couple things. I'm gonna try to actually do the worm bin like correctly this year.
You gonna do it outside or inside, you think?
I have it made. I just started it so late in the season.
Gotcha.
And then I never brought it inside. And then it froze in the garage.
those poor little fuckers. Yeah.
I'm gonna which there wasn't a lot in there because you had brought me like a couple dozen maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't much. It was like some that I could scrounge up from mine. So yeah. Well, cool, man.
Do that. I have like enough scrap wood to make a couple more raised beds, and then I got all those fabric pots for my birthday. So
yeah,
definitely gonna try to expand more this year, which would be good.
Cool.
I just have like a normal like leave it to beaver backyard, so I got to start like stacking stuff and hanging stuff off the fence and all that.
Hey,
just try to
that works.
Make the best out of the space.
I always love going on like Instagram or YouTube, and you see the people that are able to utilize their spaces that they have and how ingenious they get with different types of designs and going vertical. So it's definitely cool, and it's effective. I think Corey, you'd have more of an input on this, but being able to grow a garden that's more vertical, right? At least from my understanding, and kind of away from the ground, not as close to the ground. You're also going to try to keep some pests away with that, right? Isn't it a little bit better to have things more up off the ground?
It depends on the crop, but yeah, for sure. Especially anything that's vining, setting up trellises and stuff like that, because then you're not, like you're saying, using more vertical space on raised beds like cucumbers and beans, things like that. If you have problems with like chipmunks and rodents, keeping that stuff off the ground definitely helps.
That makes sense.
Yeah, cucumbers took over my yard last year because I did not do any sort of training.
Oh, okay.
I would go to mow the lawn. I'd have to like throw the vine over my shoulder and go bring it
back. That's cool though. And Nerd, what do you? I know you were talking about you had started like, didn't you make like a little compost pile or something outside, or you were like you put a bunch of stuff off to one side and.
I have a composter, and then I have whatever compost is left in the worm bin.
Cool. And I know you had made that JLF, right? So you should have some of that for this season. Cool.
Yeah, I got that going. So that'll be what we're at, like 9 months of it.
Okay. Hell yeah. Do you have any thoughts to make any more of that this year? Try something new. I need answers.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Join the club, brother.
They said you're supposed to use like a shot glass per gallon. It makes awful martinis.
That's great. But yeah, no, I mean, that's something that I'm really excited to try to hit a little bit more this year, is trying to make, I had made some fermented stuff, and I've done some indoor stuff where, like fermenting fruit juice, or making FFJ. I'm not very, very familiar with it. I'm not proficient in all those different things, but one of the guys that you're very familiar with, Kumar or Cosmic Conch, that's what he likes to do. He makes all kinds of awesome stuff. I've got some fermented fish from him, so the amino acid, and that's really cool. So is he using any of that stuff on your garden, or like trying to be like, hey, this is what we need to do, and trying to talk you into all that stuff?
Yeah. He's always coming over with some like new amendment or something like that. I don't really use that stuff just because I'm on such a large scale. It's hard for me to make it all work. But I have tried like the FFA and stuff in my indoor garden, and I love that stuff. And it's really, for a home gardener, I think that's the way to go. If you have the time and you have the resources, definitely making your own amendments is worthwhile.
Yeah. It's something I really want to get. It's also made me nervous because I see like where people are like, we're collecting stuff or we're doing the cook where it's outside, right? Like, so whatever it may be, like cooking it outside, so to speak, and then bringing it indoors has always scared me. Right. So like, cause then I've got to deal with the possibility. Am I bringing any pests indoors? And then I've got to deal with that. So I've always been very, very weary of that type of stuff. And that's what stopped me. But
yeah, I mean, it depends on what it is, how well it's contained, how well it's broken down. Like I do use fermented tobacco leaf as an indoor like pesticide. That works really well. Yeah. There's tobacco has we can get into tobacco, but they have very specific pests. So I've noticed that it will kind of keep down certain populations like thrips and stuff like that indoors.
No shit.
Spider mites. Because it contains nicotine, and so I usually mix that with a little bit of oil as a surfactant, and I've done that in the past and seen pretty good results. Yeah.
Well, no shit. What we'll have to get your recipe on that. But what are you from how are you going about making this?
Yeah, I have it written down, so I don't remember off the top of my head, but like you're just taking green tobacco leaves, basically kind of cutting them up or just ripping them up, putting them into water, and then just covering that, letting it ferment, and then straining it off and putting it into a container. And then usually you'd mix it with water, like you're diluting it when you go to apply it. And then, like I said, I like to mix it with a little bit of oil just to make it stick to the plant leaves. I use a horticultural oil. And also too, that also, is a pesticide in of itself. So it's a little bit more natural way to do stuff. I just, recommend people don't really use it outside. I'd use it in a greenhouse or in an indoor grow because it contains nicotine that can affect, beneficial insects like bees and stuff. So you just gotta be aware of that and be careful. But yeah.
No shit. Yeah, I didn't realize nicotine would affect any of the beneficials. That's very interesting.
Yeah, neonicotinoids in pesticides was a huge issue with bee populations. So they actually don't. I think it's banned in most of the U.S. now, particularly for agriculture use. I don't know about home use or in selected, applications. But yeah,
sure.
So just to be aware of it. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Is it so? But I guess it would. So like if we were, most of us would be using it on cannabis plants. It doesn't affect, you don't notice any negative effects from the plants or anything like that. Like it doesn't like it or anything like that.
Nope. I've never had any issues with like phytotoxicity or, anything like that. It does smell really bad because it is, it's basically composted leaves and water. So yeah, other than kind of a stinky smell, I haven't seen any, negative effects on the plants themselves.
Yeah, my wife's gonna hate me with that. That's the other thing. I had just saw a video I was watching. It was miles from fermented plant extracts, and that was something actually that was exactly what the video was on. Was foliar spraying your plants with fermented stuff. It stinks the place up. And I guess they have either a new product. I don't know exactly what the whole thing was, but I know talking with the soil makers, and I think we mentioned this on the last podcast. Do you mix labs in there with it at all? Because I know that kind of will cut down on some of the stink in there, right?
That I haven't tried yet. I usually, if I'm going to use any type of bacillus or stuff like that, I usually, mix that separately, but I haven't tried that, but that's actually a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. That was just something that I learned last year, and it made a big difference because I was doing the same thing. I basically just had a big 50-gallon or 55-gallon drum, and I had taken all of my sad overgrown garden that I really fucked up, and I just just cut all that down and put it in there. And then I think I put some leaf mold in there. I was following something out of one of these books, and yeah, that shit starts to stink really bad. And then you go over there and you mix it up, and then your neighbors are smelling that shit, right? Because you're right up on it. And you're like, dude, this is so bad. You want to throw up. You're like, this is terrible. So you know that's got to be wafting. But yeah, I put a little bit of labs in there, and the smell went down significantly. I was surprised. So yeah, have to fuck around with some more of that shit for sure this year. Excuse me. Let's see. What else do we got? I know you said you were preparing. So you have your hoop house. Talk to us a little bit about your greenhouse and stuff that you got going on. You started your seeds. I know, like you said, you do a starter where you can go on your site, right? Is it on your site, or how does that work? Where you can order if you're, I imagine if you're local, right? You can get that stuff.
Yeah, it's not on my site because it's local, but if you go on like any of my social media accounts, there's a link to it on there. And then I do a veggie plant pre-sale every year to kind of help cover the cost of the greenhouse and all that. And I do it, at a discount. And then also I sell out of stuff usually. So, anyone who pre-orders, obviously they'll get what they ordered. So when I do my greenhouse, when it's like open for sale in May, I can only fit so much stuff. So a lot of the cool pepper varieties and tomato varieties, they sell out pretty quick. So I want to make sure that people who really want them can get them. But yeah, so if you go on my Instagram or like my Facebook page, there's links there, and I have a few spots open. It's almost full, and then I'll be closing that on Monday. But yeah. Yep.
Hell yeah. And when are those, when do you suspect that, when's kind of like, are you going to release? So everybody's ordered them. Are you like, all right, you guys got to be here within a certain time frame? Cause I didn't read any of that stuff. To be honest with you, like, I don't know when I'm coming to pick it up. I just figured you'd be like, "Hey, idiot, come pick your shit up."
Yeah, no, I send an email out usually the week before I open the greenhouse, so everyone knows. But yeah, it's May 10th is when I open up. It's a Saturday. It's usually Mother's Day weekend. I think it's that Sunday is Mother's Day. So yeah, I'll have my greenhouse open Saturday and Sunday. I'll send everyone an email ahead of time to come pick up their stuff, and then I'm there. It's open for like a month or so. Into June until basically I'm sold out of everything. And then I have some customers who I do contract growing from. They'll come and pick up all their like annuals and stuff like that. But that's a lot of, that's all bulk stuff. That's a lot of trays and all that. Yep.
Yeah, I think I did at least do some research because I know we had talked about, I had planted my first photo seeds, and I picked your brain. I was like, hey, when's a good time to get them started? You're like, well, we still got a little bit. And I was like, but I want to start them now. And it's just like, I guess we're just going to have some overgrown solos. He's like, yep, that works too.
Yeah. I usually, so for like my photo periods, I start them in my greenhouse first week of April. And then, I'm planting them out. Usually it depends how big I want the plants to get. But anywhere from like late May to mid June. And I just do that. I usually, and like I have a hemp farmer who I grow plants for every year, and he'll plant stuff and then just cut it back. So it's not super crazy big. Yeah. Cause that's the thing is like people are like, oh, I want to start now. And it's like March and you keep potting this plant up and it's getting bigger. And by the time you plant it outside, it's like 3 feet tall. It's like when that gets done flowering in October, it's going to be like 7-8 feet. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
yeah. I don't know what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
It's going to be fun for sure. I am at least very fortunate to have, friends like you that I can pick your brain about those stuff. And so I am excited to give that a try. But one of the big things that we are having you on here for is to talk about the tobacco grow along. I know we had mentioned it on the last episode that you were on, and there's been word here and there, but it's official. I think we're in that window, if I'm correct, that we really need to start kind of get moving on things. So we wanted to bring you on here to kind of pick your brain, maybe hopefully ease some people's, because I know it's just like anything else that we grow, right? Like there's learning curves to it. There's a whole process to growing it, processing it to make sure everything is quality at the end. So let's start from the beginning, dude. let's talk about the seeds, kind of either what you got, what's the difference between the different cultivars, what would you recommend? And let's start from there.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll say first, like tobacco, after cannabis, I'd say tobacco is my favorite crop to grow it and consume it. I probably consume like much more tobacco than I do cannabis. But
no kidding. Now, how are you consuming it? What's your favorite way that you consume it?
I mean, I smoke cigars, I smoke a pipe, and then I've gotten I've been doing way too many, like too much chewing tobacco lately.
No kidding. Okay.
trying to keep myself going through the day. So I got to cut that down a little bit, but it's definitely a nice boost. But yeah, as far as growing it, it's not super difficult. And I think the biggest roadblock for people is mainly being able to access information for like the home gardener easily. If you do a search online, it's not very concise, like what you really have to do. I mean, there's a lot of information on like growing it, but then it's kind of like, okay, your plant's done now. What do you do? How do you cure it? How do you process it? Stuff like that is a little bit more, more obscure.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's a couple mistakes that people make that are pretty easy to avoid that I can get into. But as far as growing it, it's traditionally grown in poor soil. So any decent garden soil you have, it's going to grow fine. And
not super nutrient hungry or anything like that you find.
Nitrogen is going to be the biggest thing you're going to need because it's such a large leafy green plant. But yeah, like I said, down south in the United States, East Coast of the United States, tobacco was grown on poor soil for years. That's kind of traditionally what it was grown on. But it's like I said, it's not hard to grow. So what I recommend people do is start with like a Burley type or a Maryland type. Just because they're easier to cure. So that's the process of, getting the leaf to a consumable, state.
Cause you could really fuck it up, right? I mean, there's like, grow it.
So normally, the first problem I see with is people, cause I mean, this tobacco seeds are very tiny. They are
so fucking tiny.
Yeah. If people are familiar with poppy seeds, they're even smaller than that. They're like half the size of a poppy seed. So they're super, super tiny. And I'll see people, you have like a 4-inch pot or something and somebody's dumping 20, 50 seeds on there because they're so tiny, thinking only like a few of them are going to germinate. And then you basically have like a carpet of tobacco seedlings. My seeds have a 70 to 90% or more germination rate. So, if you have 100 seeds and I put them in a vial, the vast majority of those are going to germinate. So I see people like crowding them too much. You want to just do like 2 or 3 seeds in, like a 4-inch pot, or if you're going to do a cell pack or one of those like, peat pods or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, if they all come up, you just want to even take a pair of tweezers and pick a couple of the seedlings out of there.
Okay. So get your magnifying glass when you're getting the seeds ready with your tweezers and everything and start picking them out.
Yeah. And so you really don't want to try and like break them apart to transplant them because they're, like I said, they're so small. It's just going to create kind of a mess. And when they are that small, the roots are like a thread. So trying to break them apart to transplant them, it's kind of a pain.
Are they finicky in any sense with transplanting like that? Like if you leave them in a small container or anything, do you have to worry like with autoflowers, do you have to worry about stunting or anything like that? Is that a possibility with tobacco as well?
Not really. Like I said, as long as you got like one plant per pot when you're kind of ready to plant out, you'll be fine. And they get when they're about like I want to say 3 to 4 inches tall. And the leaves will be like probably about half the size of your palm. That's a good time to plant it out. Once this, like I said, the seedlings are really small when they start. You just want to keep that soil moist because you really don't want to bury the seed too much. You kind of just want to surface sow it because they're such a small seed. But like once they get going, they grow quick and the plants will get big pretty fast. And then you're basically just planting them out after your last frost date. So I recommend people start about 6 weeks before their last frost date. So in Connecticut, it's like the first or second week of April, and then plan to plant out in, second or third week of May.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can still hold off just a little bit.
We got a few weeks. I think I'm on April 7th or something is my plant date for my tobacco, but I have to look at my notes. But yeah, it's around there.
Okay. I was thinking about starting this weekend, but I guess I'll hold off because I can already see it. What's going to happen is my room's going to get out. I'm going to have it off to the side, just barely getting any light from my grow, and it'll turn into a mess. So I'm glad we talked because I was about to start them this weekend. I would have been screwed.
Yeah, I mean, I also try not to transplant stuff up because I'm in a greenhouse with like literally hundreds of flats. So I like to start them in they're called 804s. They're 2-inch square cells, and there's 4 of them in a group, and then there's 4 or 8 groups of 4 in a 10-inch by 20-inch tray. And I find that's a perfect size. So if I start them end of the first week of April, I don't have to transplant them up before planting them outdoors, and they're they're big enough where they're not super tiny plants, but they're not so big that they're going to be super root bound and not do well.
Gotcha. Yeah, my idea, I guess, that I had with it was I was going to do solo cups. That was my original idea.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but I'm very excited about it. I am very excited. So you had mentioned a couple different cultivars of the tobacco. I know you've got how many different do you have available on your site of the tobacco?
I believe I have 6 varieties right now. There's a Burley type, a Maryland type, 2 Virginias. There's a Connecticut broadleaf, and then I might be missing one. Oh yeah, there's a Swedish variety too. That's a more compact plant. But as far as honestly how they grow are all going to be a little bit different. Like the Swedish tobacco, that only gets 3 or 4 feet tall max, and that one they call it suckering, but basically putting out side branches that suckers a lot. So you kind of have to keep it pruned back and then harvest the leaves as they're ready, which is different than like a broadleaf type where the plant's just going to get big and tall, and then you're basically harvesting all the leaves, not necessarily at once, but like in a 2-week window.
Okay. Yeah. So when we'll get into harvest in a minute, but the way the plant grows, is it just it's almost like it's got its main stalk that just comes straight up, and then these large leaves kind of come off of that. And
yeah, exactly. So, for instance, you're planting your plants second week of May here, and then there's a big main stalk that's coming up. It's putting out leaves, and then when you're getting towards I want to say late July, early August, you basically want to top the plant whenever it's starting to put out like a flower bud at the top.
That was going to be one of my questions.
Yeah. Just cut that right off. It's going to help put more energy into making the leaves larger. And then also they're going to mature earlier and a little bit more uniformly. And also too, the biggest pest that I have issue with on tobacco is aphids, and those flower buds at the top, especially when they're immature, aphids love those. So if you
just get all in there.
So if you remove that flowering top, that's 80 to 90% of your aphid pressure is completely gone.
No kidding. Okay.
And then what's going to happen though is everyone who's topped a plant knows this, right? The side branches are going to want to grow out. So they call it suckering in tobacco growing. You're going to have branches that come out from the leaf node, and then you just want to kind of stay on top of cutting those off because those will want to form flowers too. So you just want to keep those off, and then like I said, that'll keep the plant to kind of just making the leaves larger and then maturing earlier and more uniformly.
So we're trying to get the plant to focus on just growing the biggest beautiful leaves that we possibly can.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So so we're getting them started soon, and then they're going out. What's the lifespan? What could we expect from kind of from when we're planting the seed? What's the lifespan on something like that?
Yeah, so you're looking at, it's usually about 90 days from planting to harvest, I want to say. And that might be a little off, but somewhere around there from sowing to harvest. It's around 90 days. I try to get most of my stuff harvested by want to say like early September. There might be some varieties that go a little bit later, especially if you're growing like a broadleaf that has like really large leaves. But that's kind of the target window is beginning of September to harvest everything.
Okay.
And then yeah, after that, it's going to be curing it.
Okay. Now, I know we kind of touched on the nutrient side. Is there any recommendation that you would say, like get it on a schedule? Should we be feeding it anything throughout the life cycle, or is it kind of whatever's in there is going to do it good?
Yeah. So if you're growing like just in your garden, the only thing I recommend is kind of like a little top dress with nitrogen at the beginning of the season, like a feather meal or something like that is fine. Okay. It's a little bit more slow release nitrogen. But honestly, if your ground can grow like a decent tomato or cucumber plant without you doing too much, that's all you need. Like I said, I don't do anything other than a little bit of, feather meal or alfalfa meal, something with high nitrogen early in the season. And then once the plants get going, I don't really feed them or anything after that.
Okay.
If you're in a pot, that's a little bit of a different story. You can grow them in containers. I recommend like at least a 5-gallon container, but then you want to just have like a general purpose fertilizer, like a 10-4-3 or something like that. And, you can feed it like once a week, maybe twice a week, depending on, how you see the plant growing, and then obviously taper off as the plant gets more mature. After you cut off that flower stock, you got probably like another 4 weeks to 6 weeks before it's going to be ready to harvest. So you can start kind of tapering off your feeding schedule after that.
Okay. So that's kind of like a good marker. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yep. So once you start looking for that, that's kind of like, that's towards the end. Cool. Yeah. I think I'm going to try to do one in Earthbox or City Picker and see how that goes. So,
dude, if you did it like a broadleaf in Earthbox, you'd have like, I think you'd have crazy giant leaves off of that. It'd
really? Okay. I've got a few City Pickers, and I think they're like 11 gallons, and I'll just fill that sucker up, and we'll see what we can get.
All right.
That'll definitely be fun. So, all right. So we've gotten kind of through the starting from the seed, kind of what you recommend growing wise. Is there any type of, I know you were saying with pests, is there anything that you recommend spraying them down with or anything like that, or kind of like an IPM regimen that works well?
Well, the nice thing about tobacco is, like I said, if you cut that sucker off on the top of the flower buds, like you're really not going to have too much pest pressure. No if kidding. You do have a little bit of aphid issues, I would try spraying something that, because obviously you're going to consume the leaves. If that's your plan, you don't want to spray anything nasty. So like citric acid, or like something like just a simple horticultural oil that's going to break down. But I usually don't.
Like that.
What's that?
Nothing that's like systemic, so to speak, right?
Exactly. Like you don't want to be spraying anything nasty on there. But I usually don't spray my tobacco at all. And then if you do have, for whatever reason, like a really wet area, and you're worried, tobacco, you'll see like sometimes, especially on the lower leaves, you'll get brown spots, like a septoria or something like that on it. So if you're in a more wetter area, more humid area, you could use like a Bacillus subtilis spray or lactobacillus or something like that, just to try and keep the fungal pressure disease down. But like I said, other than that, I don't really spray. So yeah.
And then watering, like you're saying, is it a plant that you find, like I know sometimes like peppers don't like quite as much water as say like a tomato would, so right? How is the watering situation with a tobacco plant?
Yeah, because they have such large leaves, they do need a bit of water. But I dry farm, and so I don't really irrigate the majority of what I grow, and I have not had too much of an issue with wilt from from not having enough water. So as long as you have a decent, like I said, if you have a decent garden soil in an area where it rains fairly regularly during the growing season, you should be all set.
Okay. So for us here in the Northeast, we probably would be all right with not doing too much, maybe just having like a good mulch layer on there to make sure that soil's staying moist. And because that's one of the things that I struggle with is knowing when to water outdoors. It's tough for me. So something that we'll definitely practice this year. But so we've gotten to the point we're growing it. We've topped it to get that flower off. We've got 4 weeks. What's the plan from there? How are we harvesting it? What are we doing with it?
Yeah, so when the plants are ready to harvest, you're looking for the lower leaves to start turning yellow, and it depends on the variety. That's why I tell people, start with a Burley or a Maryland type, because you'll see kind of like the whole leaf more or less turning yellow, and the ridges of the leaf will kind of get wavy. Broadleaf's a little bit harder, and Virginia's a little bit harder to see it. It's more like kind of like a alligator skin pattern of yellowing. It's not as uniform on the leaf, so it's a little bit harder to notice it, but that's a good time to start harvesting the leaves. And if you grab them where the stem meets the stalk and you kind of pull them down, they should snap right off, should make a sound like celery breaking. It should just kind of pop right off the stem. And then so that's when you would harvest it. And then you want to I do groups of leaves at a time. You can either kind of bundle them together with like a rubber band, at the base.
Kind of like at the base of
Yeah. I usually put like 4 or 5 leaves together, and I kind of alternate them back to front. So that way there's some space in between each individual leaf, so there gets a little bit of airflow. Or you could also take some I'll do this with my broadleaves, which are heavier. I'll take like a thin metal wire that you can actually, it's thin enough where you can like twist it or whatever.
Yeah.
Stick that skewer it through like 4 or 5 of the stems, and then just make a circle so you can hang it up on, like a piece of, like rope or something like that. Yeah. And then, so after your harvest, before you harvest, you want to set up an area to cure it. So unlike cannabis where you're trying to dry the flower, this you're trying to cure the flower. I tell people to think of a tree losing its leaves in the fall, where you're watching the leaf turn from a green to kind of like tannish brown color. So you want all that chlorophyll in that leaf to break down, and you want all the starches and sugars and carbohydrates and all that stuff to start breaking down in the leaf, and that's how you get that nice tan brown color. Gotcha. What happens is people will, like I said, they'll try and dry it. So they'll drop the humidity too low, and it locks all that chlorophyll and ammonia and everything, all the nutrients in the leaf. And then you get that, I don't know if anyone's ever, smoked like green tobacco, but it tastes awful. It tastes like grass and ammonia. It's horrible.
No kidding. Wow.
So don't try to dry it. You're trying to keep that leaf alive and kind of break everything down in it. So you're looking at like a 3-day average of 62 to 72% humidity.
Okay.
And then you want to let it cure in that environment for 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the variety.
Wow.
So it's a little bit longer time cycle than, cannabis. You want it under 60% humidity, and it's only a couple weeks at most. So it's a little bit different process.
Jeez. So that's going to be something that I'm going to have to figure out, because I don't know how I'm going to do any of the dry, the curing yet. Like, we'll make that future Grateful's problem, and we all hate that guy anyways. So fuck him. So I don't. That's one thing that I've definitely got to do some research on. And
well, actually, outdoors, if you have an area that I basically do it in the back of a garage. So if you have a space outside that's just not in direct sunlight, that's kind of sheltered from the rain, it's humid enough outdoors here for you to be able to do that. It's like I said, it's not a super hard process. And even if somebody has like a tent that they use for drying, you normally dry your flower in there. That's a perfect environment. You could just let it get a little bit more humid than you normally would. Even just like a bucket with some water in the bottom with like a towel dripped into it, so it's got some evaporation.
Like
just stick your temperature with a humidity probe or something in there, and Like I said, it's a 3-day average. So as long as you're keeping it within that range, you'll be good. You just don't obviously you don't want it too humid because then it's gonna start to rot. And and you see, I check the mid vein or the mid rib in the tobacco leaf, because if it's gonna mold, that's where it's gonna start. So if you start seeing a little bit of mold forming there, just drop the humidity down.
Okay, so it's not, so if it's not like for me, if I see any type of mold on, any of my flowers, I just automatically like, yep, that's it. I'm not even gonna, not gonna bud wash or do anything like that. I just trash it. But if you start to see something like that form, it is savable if you drop your humidity.
Yeah, and like I said, you're gonna see on the mid rib, or like the stem going through the middle of the single leaf. And if the leaf is starting to cure and like the outside is looking nice, but the inside is still a little green, like you could even take it and start tearing it off of that midrib, because that's going to be the last thing that's going to, get all the moisture pulled out of it. And so it's, like I said, it's your biggest vector for kind of molds forming. So yeah, you could just kind of pull off the stem. And if you have like a drying rack, you can start laying like the leaves on a drying rack or something like that, just to keep them a little bit more separated and get that midrib out.
Is there, so we're higher humidity when we're curing it. What about airflow? Is there any type? Would you recommend having a fan in there? Kind of. Do we want to see the leaves blowing at all a little bit, or is it anything like that?
Yeah, having a little bit of good air circulation. Yep, that works. You don't need anything, super crazy, but just a oscillating fan, or like I said, if you have it in a tent or something like that, it's one of those, 4 or 6 inch, whatever, just little clip fans. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I lived down south for a while, and there was a lot of tobacco fields. And it was always cool to like be riding through the hills, and you would see the big, huge barns, right? They had special barns for these. And sometimes you would see, I don't know if it was smoke or if it was just like the humidity coming off of it, but it was always cool because you could see into the building, because they would have some of the doors open sometimes, and you'd see all these plants just hanging down. So there's got to be some kind of leeway for sure if they're able to just hang the fuckers up in a barn somewhere. It can't be as hard as because I know a lot of us will like to not over exaggerate, but worry too much, right? Like, oh, I don't want to do this because of that, right? So it can't be too bad.
No, it's pretty easy. So you were somewhere in Tennessee then, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so that makes sense why you saw the smoke, because like Kentucky fire cured tobacco was basically grown all along the Kentucky-Tennessee region, and so they actually smoke cure that tobacco.
No kidding.
Yeah, which is interesting. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with Toscano cigars, but that's a smoke cured tobacco. It's got a very distinct smoky flavor to it. It's great. So they're using the smoke. How does that work? Are you just smoking it for a few days and then during the curing process, or what's the deal with that? Yeah, exactly. So like there's different type of ways to cure tobacco. There's also, they call it like fire cured tobacco. But yeah, smoke or fire is used, basically heat. A lot of times what they'll do is either at the beginning or during certain times during the curing process, they'll introduce smoke or fluctuations in temperature and humidity to get the tobacco to cure a certain way, either faster or impart a flavor like the fire cured, or like even Latakias in pipe blends. Those are all Mediterranean tobaccos that are smoke cured, so they have a very distinct flavor to them. But yeah, with barns, like if you drive in Connecticut up in the northern part, like Windsor, Weathersfield, along the Connecticut River, you'll still see tobacco barns out there. And yeah, it's it's really not that hard. If they can cure them in barns outdoors, especially in this region, you can do it yourself.
We just worry. I think a lot of us just worry so much, right?
Yeah.
Like, I could do it in the trunk of my hatchback.
Yeah, there you go.
That's great. But okay, so I think we've kind of, is there anything else that you would like to put out there to recommend for this girl? I know we're going to be creating a channel And there's going to be a bunch of us. We're going to share. You've got some PDFs. You've got a couple different things that you'll share. I know you have your own podcast, and I know you've done at least 1 or 2 episodes focused on tobacco. So we're going to make sure to share all that. But is there anything else that you'd like to share to make sure we've kind of ease some people and kind of be able to get them going in this grow along?
Yeah, well, I'll mention I have a tobacco growing guide. So if you purchase tobacco seeds on my website, you get a free PDF download. It's a 23-page guide with color photos, shows you how to, grow it, how to start the seeds all through the growing process, how to harvest it, how to cure it, and then some tips on, what to do with it. And that's one of the things I really am looking forward to with the grow along is if we can get some people showing how they're using it, that would be really cool. I know a lot of people who they've started like kind of growing their own blunt wraps, but I'd like to see if anyone does anything else with it. Cause like I make my own pipe tobacco and stuff like that. So I always think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's I've got 3 different varieties, and I'm gonna do at least a plant, maybe 2 of each. So I'm probably gonna have far more tobacco than I'm ever gonna need. But it's one of those things where I like it's so much fun to try these different ones. I can't remember exactly which ones I have, but speaking of blunt wraps, and then for like tobacco or anything, is there a certain one that you recommend that someone would get if their intentions were to grow blunt wraps or to make tobacco for pipes or rolling?
Yeah, so the flavors and the sugar contents are going to vary depending on the cultivar. So something like a burley has lower sugar content, almost no sugar, and then a higher nicotine content. Versus a Virginia type, which is lower nicotine content and higher sugar content. So if you're going to grow something where you want to use it as like a blunt wrap or a wrap, or like like a grabba or a fronto or something along those lines, you're going to want to pick more of like a burley or a Connecticut broadleaf. And then if you're growing more for pipe tobacco or a chewing tobacco, you could use any of those for pipe or chewing tobacco, but the Virginias, in my opinion, they have a bit of a sweeter flavor, almost kind of like kind of citrusy almost. Kind of sweet. Some of them can, and especially like if you blend stuff, you can get different flavor combinations. Like a burley with a Virginia, to me, it's like a kind of like a molasses nutty flavor to it. So yep.
Okay. All right. Well, we got some experimenting to do for sure. Nerd, are you getting in on this? I know we kind of talked.
I got some.
Okay. All right. I'm excited to see that. Hell yeah. I know.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I'm not personally a big blunt smoker, but I think again, the joy of being able to grow it and say that you made it is definitely a thing that tickles my fancy. Right? That's that'll get me to grow tobacco. The wife was like, "You quit smoking. Why are you growing tobacco? You're not getting back. You're not getting back into this." And I was like, "No, don't worry. It's all right. It's organic. It's natural." But cool, man. Well, I am really excited. I think we touched everything on that on the tobacco front, like we normally do. I know we talk about either media or something like that, or music or anything. I know y'all were talking about some video games. So
video.
What have y'all been playing? I know, Corey, you were saying we had some issues with your storage issue at the beginning of the show. He's like, "Yeah, I've been downloading so many games and shit." So you're like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, too many ROMs, too many ROM files. But yeah, I've been playing Zelda 2. If anyone's familiar with the second Zelda game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. That's
a side-scrolling one.
Yeah, notoriously hard. I am in the second to last palace, and it was just like, oh my! That game has no chill, man. It's pretty intense. But yeah, I still love it though.
That's cool.
Yeah, I haven't beaten that one. I've beaten. I think the first one I beat was Link to the Past, and then a whole lot like. From there, beat a whole bunch from there. But I have played Zelda 2 a little bit. My son and I have been playing Mario Maker still. Oh, we also got Super Mario Wonder, which is pretty cool. Where it's like you can like touch a wonder flower and then the whole level gets like trippy.
Oh,
and then
nice.
You have to like work your way through it.
So you don't have to take mushrooms before playing?
No.
No.
You just do them right in the game. Yeah. There's like one level, I was actually playing it with them this morning, where there's all these bulls and they're just like grazing, and then you can like bounce off their backs and stuff, and then once you touch the wonder flower, it turns into a stampede, and then you have to ride on their backs like a roller coaster almost, because they'll like jump off a cliff and then
oh shit.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I have to check that out. It sounds pretty trippy.
That's what system are you using, nerd?
Nintendo Switch.
Nintendo Switch. I've got to get something, man. I think my daughter's got the Switch, man, but I was a PlayStation guy for a long time, and it was like just like the shooting games. That was what I was into. So, but apparently you cannot, it is not advised to put a gaming console above a fire, like on a fireplace mantle, because it gets I learned it gets very hot. And I burnt my PlayStation out. So that was kind of the end of my career there. But dude, I used to play a lot, like Battlefield, Call of Duty, all that kind of stuff. And I miss it. But my wife is probably gonna fight me tooth and nail if I was like, hey, can I get this? Yeah.
Honestly, like there's so many emulators, especially for PS1, that you could download on your computer for free. And as long as you can find the ROM files, which are really easy to get, you could basically play any PlayStation game, PS1 game on your computer for free. It's super easy.
Yeah.
Good.
I used to use that NES emulator called Nesticle.
Yeah.
And the icon was the ball sack.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That was way back in the day. Corey, are you familiar with or have you played Fear and Hunger?
Nah, I'm not familiar with that one.
All right. So holy shit. So this game, you can get it on Steam. You have to go through like age verification and all that because it's super fucked up. But it looks like Super Nintendo Final Fantasy.
Okay.
Where it's like, and then it's all turn-based, right? But you can lose your limbs from like one hit. So like you go to fight an ogre and he'll just cut your leg off, and then for the rest of the game you just don't have your leg anymore. All the monsters are naked, so you can like see their genitals, and it's just it's like a gothic horror, and you have to work your way through this castle where all the monsters are just crazy dangerous. But yeah, so like the first time I played, I walked up, there was an ogre in the doorway, and I'm like, oh, I hit like item, attack, blah blah, and then he just cuts both my legs off. And then I beat him, and then when it goes back to the world screen, I'm literally crawling on stumps across the floor. Like it's fucked. But
I'll have to check that out. I love RPGs, so that's my jam. It kind of sounds like Fire Emblem. Instead of your character like perma-dying, it's just like you get perma-amputated.
It's gross. But yeah, there's two of them. I played the first one a lot more, but the second one's cool. You can like pick a bunch of different characters and stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's a nuts game.
That's fucking wild. That is absolutely wild. But I think we did it, boys. I think this is we have anything else that we want to touch on before we get to wrapping her up?
I'm all set.
All set. Okay.
We're
fucking done with this shit. Well, cool, man. Listen, I really appreciate you coming to hang out with us again. Really looking forward to this grow along. I will, once this episode airs, we'll create the little group within our Discord, and anybody that that's going to be growing them that may not be in our Discord, tell everybody to come on over. Hopefully we can get a whole bunch of people kind of sharing in. We can all learn from each other, and we'll have you to help us through this journey. So I am very excited, and I appreciate you taking your time to join us and hanging out. So, any shout outs or anything you want to leave us with before we get out of here?
Yeah, well, I'll shout out Kumar again.
Hell yeah.
So everyone give him a follow, Cosmic Conch Creations on Instagram. He's a real good guy and helps me out a lot, and good steward of the earth. So yeah, I'll shout him out, and yeah, thank you both for having me on again. It's always a good time, and hopefully we'll get some people growing more of their own tobacco, man.
I know there's a handful where our Discord isn't always as active as it is because there's, we kind of shift between a few different Discords, and it tends to be most of the crew that's over there is a lot more active on the YAG Discord. And I don't know if you're over on that Discord, but there's definitely been chats. I've seen some people laying out their seeds, and I can and I see your little seed pack, mixed
awesome.
in there. So there is definitely word out there, and there's people that are definitely going to be joining in. So it's going to be really exciting to see how many people actually follow through and come join us and grow. So shout out to the community, and shout out to you, Corey, for coming and hang out with us.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
Thanks again, guys.
Cool, man. Yeah. You got anything, nerd, or are we just gonna close this bitch out?
I was thinking we could close this bitch out.
Hell yeah. Let's close this bitch. Peace.
Peace.
Peace out.